Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Talk to Rami. I'm sitting here with Dave Copps, the CEO and co-founder, I think, from the Volt.io, and he's an entrepreneur technologies, AI wizard. I can't say that, but, we're going to learn a lot about artificial intelligence, culture, leadership, everything. Well, it's going to be an amazing discussion. Dave, welcome to the show. Finally.
We've been trying for several months.
Yeah, we've tried for several months.
I'm not usually that difficult.
You're not that difficult?
No, not
You're hard to catch. I know you've been doing so many great things right now with the Volt, .io, and your company is amazing. I look at the foundation. You guys, what you have created it. But tell me how you started it, how you got interested in all this, fast-paced changing on information and technology.
I think I've just always been curious. Like I'm a perpetually curious person, and I think over time, what happened is that curiosity turned into I'm curious about what's possible, like with technology and with people and all those things, and that's what kind of leads me to where I go. But in college, I was actually a business major, and I decided I dropped in on a class that was doing industrial anthropology, and I thought it was so cool, and so I ended up just kind of going to the class every day, even though I wasn't signed up for it. And the teacher finally said,
"You basically sneak into the class."
Yeah, and I ended up changing my major. The teacher says, "Who are you?" And I said, "You're not on my roster." I said, "I just kind of like your class, And but it's funny how we were talking earlier about how sometimes you plant seeds in your life, and later on it kind of shows up. And I'm really big on culture now, but I think I'm just perpetually curious, and I built my own computers and stuff in college, and then over time learned a little software and to code, and I eventually figured out I really sucked at coding, but I'm better at kind of dreaming up something new and solving a problem, so I think that's where you start focusing more on leadership, like how can I lead great people to do amazing things, and so that's I'm so happy you mentioned that, because I think that's, as we spoke earlier, that's one of the facts. But they say that a lot of people and leaders, they don't understand that the culture of a company is everything. That's right. I like to tell people it's the only thing that everybody in the company builds together. It's the only thing. And in our culture, as we call it, an Ubuntu culture. And Ubuntu is a Swahili word that means I am who I am because of who we are together. And so when people come in our company, we tell them that one of the first things you should do is look around you, the people around you, and understand how you can lift them up. Right? So we are an anti-diva culture. We don't want people that climb over people to get to the top. We don't care about that. We've turned down people that are like that. I'd rather have a person that's incredibly smart and a good team player, and watch how they can multiply that, with other people. And so that's our culture. And in a tech company, you have to have something like that. You have to have because I think we're always working on things that don't have a cookbook. There's no answer to what we're doing. We're building it for the first time. And so you can't have things like failure. So
that's the important thing. We talk about the failure, but some people, the definition of failure that is done. I'm done. It's over. Yeah. But in your world, as you said, the failure is...
Yeah, there is no failure. We recast failure as iteration. So if you think about just the culture, even now, like in gaming, right? It used to be when you and I were kids, you play games and you die and you get 3 lives and you're dead.
Done.
Yeah. Now you keep spawning new lives. Like you learn and you spawn, learn and spawn, learn and spawn. That's a lot of the way that software is. Software is, we're basically selling electrons, right? It's ultimately malleable, right? You can make it anything you want. So if something doesn't work, you change it, you iterate, right? And so we try to kind of get in this mode where it's about you build something, you put it in the market, you watch what happens, watch what people do, pay attention, learn, and then pull it back, build again, push it back out. And there's this constant process of iteration. We always like to say, there's no possibility of failure. Just iterate until you reach awesome. And that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Basically, it's constantly adjusting, readjusting, adjusting, readjusting. Learning.
Recreating, and putting it back out there.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't mean you failed. You just need to figure out how you can do it better.
That's right. Something's not right. What happened? Why aren't they pushing that button? Why aren't they moving that lever? And you learn by experience.
And why that's important to you?
I think, we talk about companies and how sometimes rigid cultures produce different types of employees, and what we're trying to create is an environment where people understand that one of their roles is as a creator. I'm building something that's never been built before, maybe not with just myself, but with a team. I'm challenged with something, and I'm in a place now where that license to innovate, that license to iterate without fear of failure is critical. I mean, if we were, paying attention to when things didn't work, I talked about this before, like wherever you pay attention, that attention creates reality, right? So if you put attention on failure, there are cultures like that, right? When something breaks, the first thing they ask is whose fault, right? We don't have that. It's like if we're not breaking something, if something's not falling apart, then we're not doing something right. It's a key part of growth. We're building things that have never been done before. So the only way to discover what's next is to break it and break it and break it and fix it and break it and fix it and break it and fix it, and that's got to be part of who you are.
But this is a teamwork, isn't it?
Yeah.
If the whole team and the whole culture and the people that work with you or in that environment, they don't think exactly what you describe, and not going to work. That plan is not going to work. Is that right?
I think we don't, this will sound crazy, but in a lot of ways with our technology, I don't mean this the way it's going to sound, but we don't have a plan.
You just winging it?
Yeah. In a company like ours, and I mentor a lot of startups, and one of the things I tell technology startup CEOs is if you create a 5-year vision and hit it, then you weren't paying attention. The world changes, things change. You should have learned something along the way that's not the goal anymore. And so it's the same thing with software. As you're building it, you learn things that you learn about new possibilities. We have a new product we're putting out, but it wasn't possible 6 months ago. Now it's possible, right? And so you learn about new possibilities, and that changes your direction a little bit. You're still heading towards a goal, right? It's like the goal's not the point; it's the journey. How do you get there? How do you iterate and iterate and iterate until you can reach that goal or something similar, right? And so we don't really have a plan like 1, 2, 3. Do these 6 steps, and you'll be successful. No, it's like start here, and you want to end up there. Show me how you're going to get there.
Basically, you're constantly evolving.
Yeah, and you're asking people to be a creator. Like you're not saying, I want you to follow instructions. That's not what this is about. If you need to follow instructions, you're in the wrong company. I need you to create. So who can you be today to understand this problem so well that now you can create that? You and a team can go create that solution. And that's what we're tasked with every day.
But that's very hard. For you, it's very easy to say because I know you are in it, you're living it, and you are practicing it, you are preaching it.
Yeah.
But for some company, I know, I have seen some that it's very hard to go and ask the people, the employee, to start creating.
Yeah.
And most of the CEOs or leaders or startups or the founders, they have a problem by asking that, which is, I think, is the obstacle for their growth, for their pathway. But how they can overcome that? What do they have to change their mindset? Is it really is a mindset thing, or is it like a leadership, like a style?
It's completely a mindset thing, And I think mindset. We're entering a point in the evolution of technology and companies.
Scary.
Well, and it's also the answer to is it possible or not is now like, well, sure, what color? It's not. That's not the question. Is it possible anymore? It's an engineering problem. How are we going to do it? And that's becoming more and more the real world, especially recently with AI. Just more and more is possible today than I think people realize, and that's going to be an interesting evolution.
Yeah, right now with the artificial intelligence and the rising of the artificial intelligence, as we spoke earlier, a lot of things are changing rapidly. You've been in it from a long time ago, and you just said that you guys are constantly adjusting and adapting to the new things, to new product that is a result of the changes of the AI. This is a question a lot of people are asking, and I want to ask you that too. Does artificial intelligence is going to kill humans?
No.
Not kill in the like a killing, but
make us useless. Or
it's just useless. Like,
no.
Is that really happening?
I think that's really overblown. There are certain inevitabilities with AI. So first of all, I think AI will become an indistinguishable part of our lives, whether you're at home or at work. I think we're the first species ever in history to ever have to be tasked with co-evolving with a technology. I think that's going to happen with AI. It's that significant. But it's a different world. I don't think, so I get asked all the time, are all jobs going away and things like that. I think here's kind of what I think right now, and this could change tomorrow, right? But what I think right now is that the next 5 to 7 years is going to be this point where we're really having to adjust. I do think there will be kind of a trough of disillusionment. There's changes happening so fast today. I mean, so fast today, it's even hard for me. I'm a voracious reader, and I try to be a student of AI, but I'm overwhelmed. And so if I'm overwhelmed, then a lot of people are even more than that. So I think we'll have 5 to 7 years of kind of this trough of disillusionment and a reactionary kind of how do we adjust in this new world. I think the next 10 years, you're going to see more change than you have in the last 500, especially in the way we work. The way we work, you will have an AI co-pilot. Every job will have an AI co-pilot, that you work with that AI to accomplish things, to be faster, more effective, more productive. It should make for a better job, right? I remember the story about an Amazon warehouse worker, and she was picking, and wearing a back brace, right? And she basically was given a new job, and she was managing 6 robot pickers. Job satisfaction's through the roof, right? I mean, she's not picking anymore. So there's going to be this point where we all have to elevate. And that's the hard part, I think, is we don't know how we're going to elevate with AI. There's no answers for that. We're in the experiment. It's a live experiment, and we're in it right now.
We are experimenting as we go so fast.
Yeah.
And so I can personally, sometimes I cannot catch up with all the news and the AI that is going on. And then in our company, how we can adapt as fast as we can and learn. But it all goes back, how we're going to do that. Are we going to use it as a co-piloting, or we think there's an enemy of our progress?
So there are reasons to be concerned. We just throw it out there, right? AI is very powerful. It's at least as powerful as nuclear weapons, and so
somehow,
yeah. And so we will require eventually, international treaties on AI and things like that. We will. I mean,
you think that's going to happen?
It has to. There's not a question.
Like we have to kind of cage the AI?
I think it's not going to happen until, something bad happens. And then we'll all get together and go, oh, we should do something.
Yeah.
Like we always do, right? We wait for something to go wrong.
Something happens.
I think that's what's going to happen. But we are in an exponential age right now. And one of the things that I think we all have to realize is that, AI is moving the world so fast. Think about, when there's this power of doubling, so if you fold a piece of paper 8 times, it's an inch thick. If you fold it 25 times, it's a mile thick. If you fold it 40 times, it's to the moon, 50 times to the sun, 51 times sun and back. So there's this power of doubling. But when you get to those later folds, the folds become exponential, right? We are in the 34th fold on computing. So what people aren't realizing now is that every 18 months, and with some technologies every 6 months or every 12 months, but on average, every 18 months, these exponential technologies, what's possible is going exponential. So it's not like this anymore. We're not seeing a line like this, and maybe it's a steep line. We're not seeing that. What we're seeing is this. We're at the crux of the hockey stick, and it's about to go like this. So it makes it hard to predict, right? Because prediction's easy if the line's...
As the line goes.
Yeah.
Straight.
So it's hard to predict, and even experts are wrong today. I've even updated my kind of thinking about when is AGI going to happen and when is ASI going to happen and all those things, and they're getting shorter and shorter. I think with AGI, artificial general intelligence, when a computer can do pretty much what a human can do. I had that out 20 years, and now I'm thinking it's less than 10,
Now the artificial intelligence, I'm sure you heard that they can create an image. They can learn the way you think, your style.
That's right. And that's the big change that I don't know that everybody gets right now, like what happened in the last 6 or 7 months here with generative AIs, so transformers. So essentially, you're talking about stability.ai, where you can type in some words and it creates an image. Let me give you some stats on that. So Ahmad Mustaq, brilliant man. Got to be at a conference with him, with Peter Diamandis a couple months ago, but he's the creator of stability.ai. But they essentially took 100,000 gigabytes of images, right, and applied their this transformer AI, and the AI learned about the images. It didn't store the images, right? So it's not like Google, where you store the image and you search and retrieve. It learned about the images. It learned about style. It learned about how they were created. And they compressed that 100,000 gigabytes down to a 1.6 gigabyte file. Could fit on my watch, right? Now from a 1.6 gigabyte file, I can describe something and create anything. Like, that's amazing. ChatGPT, 45 terabytes of information were analyzed. So it's hundreds of billions of words, right? And what's happening is the AI is learning how to pay attention. So it's, again, not like big data anymore. I think we're moving from the big data era to the big compute era. And that's happening right now. Big data was all about search and retrieval and storage, right? You store a bunch of big data and you make it accessible, people find it.
Now we are in the creative part.
Yes. And so what's happening now is that the AI is now moving to the edge. So now we're learning from those 45 terabytes of documents. We're learning about style. We're learning about how they were written, things like that, looking between the words, underneath the sentences, right? It's learning, it's principle-based learning, right? And AI is learning how to pay attention like we do when we go to a conference. We don't remember every word in the conference. We pick things out, right? AI can do that now. AI can pay attention. But again, that 45 terabytes were compressed down to a 175 gigabyte file, fit on all of our laptops, right? And from that file, me at the edge in AI, I can generate anything. I give it a prompt and it'll generate it. So it's not finding anything anymore. It's taking what it's learned from 45 terabytes of information and it's putting it at my fingertips so I can generate anything.
But who gives that information? Is it us? We will give that information. Because my personal experience is this. As I work with ChatGPT, as I give more, it gets smarter about me.
Right. And that's called reinforcement learning. So AIs learn like this. You give them a bunch of data. ChatGPT, you get 45 terabytes of data. But the next thing you do is so the formula for amazing software in the future is going to be basically build a great AI and make it ultimately accessible to everybody. The more people that access that technology, the faster it learns, right? So it's like teaching a child. You give him information, him or her information, and then over time you just kind of do this,
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing with the large language models now. We're basically interacting with them, and they're getting smarter and smarter and smarter with every interaction.
Right now, the discussion is this right now with a lot of companies, a lot of people, they talk about it, about the artificial intelligence, especially ChatGPT, that one, we talk about the technology by itself, that you described it as smart, as this, is get the data and, analyze the data and all the information. But the other side, they're saying, is it unethical for us to use artificial intelligence to create something as human? Like, this is, I get a lot. No, that's not right. AI wrote that, not you. And there is a big debate right now is going on. What is your take on that?
I think about when years ago, they wouldn't allow calculators in the classroom kind of thing. It's the same thing. I'm actually speaking at universities now and even a grade school. I went over and talked to the board of directors at a grade school because they're all freaking out right now.
They all?
Yeah. And the answer is this. We need to coexist with it. We need to grow it and understand how to evolve with it. This is not about avoiding it. This is not about trying to contain it. We can't do that. That's like throwing a boulder in a stream, right? Water always finds its way. So we have to know how to work with it. I'm really, really excited about some things that are happening with Saul Khan at Khan Academy. He's been just dedicated his life to learning, right? And an amazing man. And we're so fortunate to have him. And he's creating something called Conmigo. So he got with the OpenAI guys and took all of his information and fed it into, the large language model, created a large language model out of his stuff. But it doesn't end there. He actually is creating the system, so that he wants every person to have a personal tutor for their whole life. You start when you're 5, 6 years old in first grade or something. You have a personal tutor, understands how you learn. Are you a visual learner? Are you memorize? How do you learn? It learns and it works with you to teach you. He also has a module for teachers. Like, how can you create education to be experiential? Education of all industries will change more than anything else in the next 10 years. We won't recognize education. You think about it. We've been teaching the same way since World War II. The teacher stands in front of a classroom, 200 kids in a college, teaching the same thing at the same pace. That's broken. That's so broken. everyone learns differently. Everyone learns at a different pace. I wouldn't be surprised to see grades go away. It's just you progress as you progress. But I think the idea of experiential learning is, like, I think we were talking about this earlier, how in Conmigo you're going to be able to create experiences around learning. So you want to learn about gravity? Let's go interview Sir Isaac Newton. You can talk with him. You want to interview a book. So you read a book, you'll be able to interview the characters. Why did you make that decision? Think about how that elevates the learning, right? And even be able to interview inanimate objects like the Mississippi River. I can go interview the river and ask it questions about it. The whole experience of learning is about to change, and we have to embrace that.
Basically, the AI will not only help, but it will expand our not only knowledge, but help us to be a better human and creative from the early ages when our educational system starts.
Yes. And, the reason we learn so slowly today is because of our structure, not because of us.
We're in the box.
Yeah.
We're in the box.
How fast you learn is gauged by the structure that you're in.
Do you think the AI is going to be a threat to the teachers, or they have to learn how to co-pilot it?
Matter of fact, one of the modules of Conmigo is going to be for teachers, and it helps them create experiential learning with each child. So all the grunt work of doing teaching goes away, lesson plans, things like that. You can have all that generated. Now your focus is on each child, how they learn, and how you can help them generate experiences that help them in ways they couldn't by sitting in a class and hearing the same thing from the same teacher. So he's creating a whole module for teachers. And by the way, he also put it in there where it won't give answers. So if a kid just says, "Hey, what's the answer to this question?" It actually says, "What do you think it is?" And then it suggests.
It's interacting.
Yes, interacting.
Is interacting with the student and actually at the same time encourage them to think and use their imagination.
If you've used ChatGPT, it creates a log of what you do. You ask a question, it gets something. You iterate with another question, it does another thing. And so there's actually evidence, like teachers could say, "Show me your work." And it'll show how they interacted with the AI to create what they created. That's the new world. It's not about rote learning and memorization. It's about how do we generate something. And there's going to be a module in Conmigo where a child can write 2 sentences, then the AI will contribute and write 2 sentences, and the child will write another 2, and they contribute to write a story together.
And then what is the point to having the books then?
Well, that's a good, question.
Really, at that point, I'm just thinking right now, then why students, they have to read the history book, History 1, History 2, Government 1, you can actually interact with the AI, which is full of the data and information from the past to now, whatever was fed to it.
Yeah.
And then we can really interact with that rather than reading the whole book.
Books might go away and might be replaced with experiential learning. Like in history, you would just go experience that, right? Go talk to a general that made an important decision and ask him why he did that. And it's this interactive dialogue with history as opposed to reading about it. And so they did some experiments with, I don't know if it was Conmigo or just Khan Academy, but in Africa, they took 18 some literate children, and they became literate in 18 months. Incredible.
And then how you think that as a whole, you're in the tech company and you interact with so many CEOs and the leaders, how we can all come together, not as a one, but kind of interact with each other and create a better environment that everybody understand where we're going, because some of them are lost. Sometimes I feel I'm lost.
That's a really good question, because I don't know that I know the answer. I know that the companies, let's talk about business for a second. The businesses that choose to augment their businesses and employees with AI will replace the ones that don't. I'll say that flat out. So it's not a choice anymore. Like, you need to evolve with this technology. Personal opinion. I won't say that's fact, but I think.
You think this is happening?
It's absolutely happening. Yeah. And the potential is so great, right? And because, again, we were talking about job loss, right? The real thing is, what's next is about augmenting people. It's like, how can I help a person be better at what they do? Can I do the menial tasks and elevate what they do to build value at the company? And I think that's the thing, is how are we going to elevate with AI. So every job, I think 80% of jobs will change 20%. And I think the thing I read was 20% of the jobs will change 80%. Like it's something crazy, you know. But I'm actually talking with the Dallas DCC, the school board, colleges, and they're talking about this right now. How can we embrace generative AIs? How can we use it as a tool with students, to help them elevate to a place they couldn't have before? And I think what they're going to find is that this creates something that's so much more engaging. If you could write a story with an AI, as opposed to just trying to do it yourself, and that's fantastic. It's collaboration, right? And it happens so quickly and so effortlessly. We're also finding out that people really like to work with AIs because AIs aren't judgmental. They like working with AIs.
Well, you worked during the COVID. I think there's a similarity between the COVID era and now. Okay, COVID happened. Nobody knew Zoom. Mm-hmm. We got to the Zoom culture, okay, which is human and online meetings or whatever. Yeah. Now is an AI and a human. Like we need human to write or AI to write. Mm-hmm. But my question is this: do you prefer face-to-face or work in the environment or read it over the Zoom? You're running a big company, and how that's going to affect you. I'm a favor of face-to-face. Hey, I have a question. I get up because, we are in the office and we're not doing it remotely.
That's right.
And some people, they like that. It's exactly the same concept as, I think, like an AI. I want to help it, write it, co-pilot. I want to just 100% be involved as a human.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I like in person. And that there's a reason, right? Because we're biological beings, right? So
we are a social animal.
Yeah, and AI is not biological, right? So
no feelings.
It can mimic feelings. I think that's one of the things that'll happen first, right? Is that there's actually companies out today. Did you ever see the movie Her?
Her. I heard it.
It's an AI movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Really?
Amazing. Best AI movie ever, in my opinion. Joaquin Phoenix is just unbelievable, but he essentially is in the future and he falls in love with an AI that's like a series.
Oh yeah, the robot thing. Yeah, I saw part of it.
Well,
that he doesn't have a feeling and he starts. Yeah,
it's kind of happening now. Like what we're finding out is that there's a company called Replica that's doing some amazing things with avatars. AI avatars where you can build an avatar that becomes your friend, and they've had instances where the company scaled back what the avatar could do and people freaked out. Like, wait, that's my friend. You can't take that away, because we're finding out that people, because AI is not judgmental, actually really enjoy interacting with AI. And they'll open up more to an AI than they would to like a psychologist or something. So it is interesting. I don't know that we understand all that stuff yet. We're going to have to see what happens and see how it evolves. But we have to be careful in that evolution. That's probably my biggest concern.
The reason that I ask you, for myself, I do calligraphy in canvas, and the feeling that when you get the brush in your hand and you stroke that brush and you get it to the ink and you write it and you listen to music in the background, that's a totally different feeling. But AI can do that too. I said, can you draw that? It's just, there's a line. I think there's a line that I don't think so AI can replace that. Maybe it's a little tiny line.
Yeah, you're right. I think AIs can mimic things. They can mimic feelings. I was at a conference once where there's a guy backstage and we were talking. He'd built an AI for Texas Hold'em, poker, and he made a claim that it could bluff. And I kind of called bullshit on him in the back. I said, it's not bluffing. He said, yes, it is. Because his AI watched a bunch of hands being played and it could figure out how to mimic bluffing. And I said, you're mimicking bluffing. It's not bluffing. Bluffing is I can look at you, your eyes are moving around, your heartbeat's changed. It's biological. And he finally agreed that, it's mimicking bluffing. So the problem is, at what point is it good enough? If an AI can mimic love, can mimic an emotion, is that good enough?
Or do you play poker with you?
Yeah.
Like you sit down and play poker with a robot.
Well, and, we saw what happened with Google, right? They created AlphaGo. So if you don't know about Go, it's this game that plays on a board, looks like a checkerboard, but you use stones, you move stones around. But in the game of Go, there are more possible moves than there are atoms in the universe.
Wow.
Complex, right? So the big breakthrough in Google in 2017 was AlphaGo, where it figured out how to play the game. Because at this point, you can't teach a game that complex. It would take thousands of years for us to teach.
You're absolutely right.
So the only way it could learn is by playing itself in a couple thousand games, just playing itself in a game. And it surpassed 1,500 years of human learning of the game Go in a few weeks. And it beat the best Go player in the world 4 out of 5 times. Matter of fact, I think it's game 2, move 37. I actually watched the movie. It's not a good movie. Don't watch it. But I watched the movie. But
Are you play any games?
I don't do as much gaming as I used to.
Because most of the tech guys, they loved on the games.
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
Is it really helping to?
We were actually even talking about maybe making it a requirement for some of our people.
Really? Mm-hmm. Why?
Because what we're doing is very spatial at Worlds. And
some of my staff, they're playing games.
Yeah, it's great. Teaches decision making, and I think it's fantastic. Yeah, we actually had the conversation just yesterday about maybe we should make it a requirement that the tech people we hire are gamers. Like a requirement.
What are the benefits? Like their mind works differently?
This company is very spatial, right? So when we take an environment from a company, what we've done is we've created a platform for creating the industrial metaverse, right? So building the industrial metaverse. And what that is, the industrial metaverse is very different from the metaverse. The metaverse is a virtual place you go and you can collaborate, play games.
Like the Facebook tried to do it, right?
Well, metaverse is will be the culmination of Roblox and Fortnite and all these different games. Eventually those will all be connected together, and that would be the metaverse. But so the metaverse today is gaming. The industrial metaverse is very different. The industrial metaverse is not a place you go because you're already there. It's reality. The industrial metaverse is in our world is we're creating live digital twins of real world environments. So our software layers over top of existing IoT networks and can start to extract information out from those environments. But we recreate those environments inside of a 4D model. So from 2D to 4D in real time. So the model itself can measure what's being sensed, when it's being sensed, and because it's a dimensional model, where it's being sensed. So now we can measure the world for the first time. Because I think, one of the things that one of my advisors is Ken Spangler, CIO of FedEx, and he just said something brilliant one day. He said, the most misunderstood area in the world is the real world in motion. Like what's happening right now. We're not measuring it, right? Inside of supply chain, like what if you could understand what's happening, when it's happening, and create alerts to help you not make the critical mistakes that are causing all the problems? That's what we're doing. We're actually when you think about what Worlds is doing, we're capturing the real world, we're replaying it live inside of a 4D model, we're measuring things and using those measurements to put alerts back in the real world. And that all happens in real time.
Basically, you do an analysis of the actual real world.
In real time.
In the real time,
yes.
That would give the data back in order to improve
yes.
the reality of what we're doing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I pinch myself sometimes because it's such a cool problem to be working on.
That's above my pay grade, but but that's something that is very fascinating.
Yeah, and
who can benefit of that system?
Right now, we're focused on these large industrial companies that have massive ground floor operations, physical operations. It's like
the manufacturing plant.
Yeah, manufacturing, distribution. Transportation, logistics, things like that. The short answer is any company could use this.
I'm sure
who
Tesla
doesn't want to understand the real world? Yeah, who doesn't want to understand the real world?
Tesla, they're building a new manufacturer here in Texas.
Yeah,
I'm sure they can use that.
If you know anybody there, get me in.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, we talk about that.
Yeah, well, they would love our stuff. Actually, I had dinner.
That's perfect thing for them, and they are really a technology company. If you're asking me, not a car manufacturing company.
That's right. No, they're a technology.
Because everything in the Tesla is a box with a biggest screen.
Mm-hmm. And they're doing more in AI, though, and you can't even really call them a car company, right?
Do you think the AI really is gonna get his way to the cars?
Oh, sure.
Like right now, we see a little bit, but in the future,
I think we're level 3 right now, automation in cars. Level 5 is a pretty big jump. Level 3 is you can go down a straight road in a highway and avoid accidents and things like that. But once you turn off a road and there's construction or something, that's not level 3 anymore, right? So eventually an AI is going to have to be able to know when a traffic cop goes like this and then goes like this. It's going to have to understand what that means, and But we're not there yet. But it will absolutely happen.
Do you really? Are you okay with self-driving cars?
Mm-hmm.
You really trust that thing?
Not today, no. No,
I don't trust it.
I'll do it taking my hands off the wheel, but while I'm there and I'll pay attention, I'll do that.
Well, you're not gonna like take a nap.
No. That's doing what people have died. So yeah, it's not there yet, right? So let's not push that too hard.
But going to back to the Volt, .io that you guys are working on. Mm-hmm. What is the ultimate goal for you guys?
We want to create the world as a live digital twin, so we can actually start to measure and understand the world in ways that have never been possible before. It goes back to what Ken said. There's a real world happening right now, and what if you could actually measure that as it's happening, and then start to understand the patterns that occur before a critical variance that causes a big problem? What if you could see that pattern and predict what's about to happen and stop it from happening? It's this idea of moving the world from physical friction to digital flow, right? So once I digitize and dematerialize the real world into a model, a 4D model, 4D being time, so X, Y, and Z plus time, right? So I build a 4D model. Once I've done that, I now have the ability to measure everything, people and what they're doing, how they're walking around. Like, you might notice that someone's picking something, and one of the more popular products is in the back of the warehouse. Well, we see that all the time now. Why don't we move that product to the front? We're selling more of that, But there's little things like that, but all the way to even safety things. Like, we're working with steel companies, and trying to make those environments safer. They're very dangerous environments. So how can we help make steel companies, safer? Even with energy companies, we're working with them on things that are to making a greener world. Like, we're working on flare detection. So when these flares happen that push all the methane and CO2 into the world, is there a way to kind of predict when those flares might happen and take an action that could stop the flare?
Like, basically what you guys are trying to achieve with your, platform is operation efficiency, safety, mm-hmm. all that above. And can we prevent human acts? Mm-hmm. Like, do you think we get to the days that you're in a real environment, people, they're interacting and say, I feel danger. I think somebody's going to do something ridiculous, or,
I think that's probably tougher, I think, because our behavior is erratic, right? I will say the toughest processes to measure are the ones that have people in them, because we will text.
We're very complex,
we're very complex. Machine to machine stuff, easy to measure. But once people are involved, it gets harder, because how do you measure behavior? I think I call bullshit on companies that say they can predict things, like processes that involve people. They can predict things. No, you can't.
No, there are companies out there. They say we can really analyze the human minds. Like, we tell actually what they think.
Yeah, that's getting closer and closer. I was at a conference once where now you can put a cap on somebody and they can think about things, and the system will draw it, what they're thinking about, So it's yeah, brain-computer interface is going to become a really interesting topic. I'm not sure I'm excited about that or not. I'm excited from the point of handicapped people. Like, the first BCIs that'll come out will have a little chip in someone's brain that'll help them walk again. Things like that. Well, that'll be the first things that happen. That's exciting, I think. But like everything, there's scope creep. What happens after that? I don't want an AI in my head. So I don't know.
With all we discussed right now, said, and I know you had a limited time right now, I'm going to wrap it up quick, but a lot of startups, companies right now, they're trying to get to the industry. The first thing goes to their mind, how can I implement or co-pilot with the AI? Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for these startup founders? They have ideas, they got software, they got product, services, or anything else. How they're going to deal with the artificial intelligence and to be part of that as they build their company or the idea?
One is to just don't wait to do it. Do it now. I mean, one of the amazing things about AI these days, and I hope the future of AI is open source, continues to be just open source, and it occurs at the edge. So AI happens at the edge, not with centralized authorities. These big internet companies that kind of own your data and they own your friends and they own you. I think the potential in the future is that AI now is at the edge. Because when you think about it, the reason we centralized things was because you need a lot of computing power, and So Google created their index and then made it accessible by anybody in the world. But now what's happening is that power is moving to the edge. So the learnings from all of that data is now at my fingertips. So I can generate and create anything. So if I'm a founder for a startup, I'm going to ask myself, how can I leverage these technologies to, first of all, kind of simplify the interface? Like eventually you want interfaces to go away. No more interfaces. It's English, right? It's language, eventually there'll be thoughts, but right now it's English, and you want to start to eliminate, people's access to technology. How can I shorten the distance between my clients and an AI that helps them do something very cool? And so startup founders should be just very curious about that. How can I implement AI in a way that simplifies, my technology for people in the world to do great things? I always tell people that the best technologies in the world are invisible. They disappear. Right, so AI is that way. It folds into life to the point where it's indistinguishable. So just things start to work. I can't wait for the day when it's a cold day outside and I'm going to work at 8:30 in my car. Woke up at 8 and checked the weather and understood it's a cold day, so it put itself in front of the house and turned on the heat a little bit, and all that happens without me thinking about it. My life just works, right? And
I think that's coming.
It is coming. Absolutely coming.
I think that's coming.
Yeah.
The whole changes that we see right now, little bit by little bit, but I have a strong feeling that it's coming.
It is coming.
It's on its way here.
It's happening right now. It's happening right now.
But, I think this artificial intelligence and, the chat that we had over that, it all comes down to human, how we're going to see things.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, it is what it is. We have resources, but the biggest problem for us is resourcefulness.
Yeah.
We have to just really learn and adapt as we go in order to grow.
And be responsible stewards.
Be responsible.
Because it's not the learning algorithms that we create that create the AI. It's the data we give it and the interactions we have with the AI that will create the AIs. So we are in full control over how our AIs learn in the future. We're in full control. I think, so it's not about an evil AI.
It's like what you earlier said, it's like a kid. Mm-hmm. What you teach them and feed them since they're a baby, that's how they're going to learn.
That's right.
If you feed them bad words or the way, but it's going to go to their subconscious and they're going to grow up. They're going to use the bad words.
Yeah.
Or if you be nice and be a good role model and give them a good data, hey, read the book with you, let me do the, and they're going to be good.
Attention creates reality. And that's
I love that. I want to steal that.
It's true with AI too. Yeah. So what it pays attention to is what it will learn. And so we should be responsible stewards and help it pay attention to the right things and to understand who we are and what our needs are. And there is going to be this co-evolution with AI. Like we're going to have to co-evolve with the technology and teach it what we want and what our desires are and how it can be a wonderful co-pilot for our life, in our businesses. And it has, you and I talked about this earlier. I think, we all worry about evil AI.
Yeah.
And, I'm a bit of a utopian, but I do understand the dangers of AI. Very, very, actually, I'm part of the Council for Competitiveness for the U.S. government, helping advise on disruptive technologies. And so I actually contacted them last week about, we need to kind of pay attention to this, But so I'm informed of the dangers of AI, but I'm more excited about what's possible with AI. I think we'll have a world that where disease goes away, where hunger goes away, because all these things are solvable problems. And when we have the depth and the breadth of an AI that can see everything, remember everything, like we're limited by our biology, right?
Yes.
So we can learn.
We have
something.
a lifespan.
Yeah, exactly. And
you and I were going to die, believe it or not.
That's right.
Hopefully not right now, but over the next 30 years, but we're all going to die, but I don't think so AI is going to die.
No, and it has a learning advantage, right? So AI, we learn, we retain about 70% of what we learn, and maybe on a Friday night it's 30%, right? But an AI has 100% recall, 100% recall. And then our memory is as good as it is, but we also share information with people, but it's only if they want to listen. With an AI, like we talked about cars earlier, right?
Yep.
So if a car learns something by driving around and figures out a new thing, a new sign or something, it teaches all the other cars that instantly. So AI is this learning is is not only very, very fast, but it's also expansive, right? So this transfer learning happens immediately. And so AIs can not only remember everything they've learned, but they can also, it's an unending memory, but they also share and collaborate better than we do. So, yeah.
But if our listeners and viewers, they have questions for you, how they can reach out to you? I know you're a busy man.
Well, it won't be so hard next time, I promise you. No, I think worlds.io is that's our website, and I'm easy to find online. I am Davo is my handle on most social media, and I'm very easy to find.
Yeah, sometimes it's bad to be famous, right?
I don't know if I'm famous, but I definitely out there.
Well, you guys, you're doing an amazing thing, and the Volt, .io is an amazing platform. I look at it. Yeah. I told you it's above my pay grade, and I love it, and I'm still digging it to learn and all that stuff. But thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate it for coming all the way down here, man.
Thanks for having me. This has just been a joy, and
we're gonna have this more often.
We're gonna be friends.
I know. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. I always surround myself with people that are smarter than myself. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you can be a better human being.
That's right.
That should always be.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.